happiness, right? It's just the feeling that we have when we feel love. Can I share my screen, right? I imagine yes. So, and which one is the one? I suppose it's this one. So you guys can see me or can see my presentation, I suppose, right? Yes, we can. Lovely. Today I will talk about Andre Luiz, and at PESC they have a very smart method of making presentations, this kind of presentation. First thing, they use a PowerPoint. We can discuss if it's good or not, but there is a sound. Is perhaps my computer here playing crazy? No, okay. So there is also, we have mice in our house this night, so we never know which noise I'll listen to. In each case, I prepare the presentation, I send to my buddy, that is the guy that takes a look on the presentation, and when you are talking, I recognize something. In the presentation, we don't talk why it's important to talk about Andre Luiz and who he is, right? Because I just start saying he's an important guy. But so let's go, and I will make a kind of improvisation. Andre Luiz is one of the most important spirits that help with Chico Xavier. Chico Xavier is this medium from Brazil that lived from 2002 to 1902 to 2005, and he wrote more than 400 books, being with spirits, always with spirits, because he had less education, and he was an apostle, Chico Xavier. He was, if he belongs to another religion, he's going to be a saint. But Spiritism, we don't have saints, we have just better brothers and better sisters, and people that more evolved than we are. And Andre Luiz is one of these spirits, perhaps the second more important in all these 400 books that Chico wrote. The first, for sure, is Emmanuel. Emmanuel was the mentor from Chico Xavier, so the spirit that was closer to him all times, helping him with lots of writings, and also in a way he lived his life, right? There is one good example, a kind of anecdote, that it was people around Chico telling him how great he was and how perfect he was and how everything he was. And then he said, no, Chico told these guys, no, I'm just a worm. I'm just the last in the evolution. And then immediately Emmanuel presented himself to him and said, do not, never offend the worms, because they are doing exactly what our Father tells them to do. They are eating dirt, transforming it into real soil. And you, as everybody else, can do much more. You see, having a mentor is not always easy, right? Because they are there to say, mistake there, error here, improve that. But this is a way that we have to understand that's the way to go, right? Okay. So in 1944 appears this book called Nosso Lar in Portuguese. Nosso Lar is also translated, if you can find in the internet, as Our Home or Astral City, depending on the translation. The last translation to English is Nosso Lar, and there is a book that you can buy, the physical book on paper, the ones I like the most. Here, there was printed here in Australia, and it's called Nosso Lar in Portuguese, right? And Nosso Lar means our home, where we live, right? So, and this is the first book that Andre Luiz wrote together with Chico. And Andre Luiz is not his real name. We have to understand this, and also to understand that he asked for this not to be named with his real name, and we are going to understand why. And because why I'm telling you guys this, because there is a discussion who Andre Luiz could be, right? And then everyone says, it was this famous fellow, or no, it was this other famous fellow, or no, it was the other one, or whatever, and they start making math. So he was at that time in this place, and so he was 8 years before. And guys, he asked not to be named. So I think we can, and we should respect his desire, right? And I think makes totally sense, because knowing Spiritism, we know that, and I think we can agree that is irrelevant. You know? I also tell a funny story that once we went to Spain, my wife and I, and someone tried to steal the car. And being a Brazilian, right, you have to have a paper from the police to go to the insurance company and say, oh, it was something, and I want you guys to pay for this problem here. And but in Spain, there is not this bureaucracy, right? There is not this form. So then, in each case, I went to the police station and said to the guy, I want to have this kind of paper. And they were, what? What you want? For what you want? And then they explain, yeah, you know, insurance, the car is another country, it's complicated. And then say, okay. Now I understand. I will solve your problem, my son. And then he pick a piece of paper and type in a letter. And this letter starts saying, dear Mr. Excellence, Mr. Judge, these days, it was here in our police station, who believed to be and be called Marcelo Falcão. And this was a very good Spiritist lesson, because I just believed to be and be called Marcelo, right? Because in my last life, I was Abelardo. On the last one, I was Fritz. Before that, I was Takashi. And before that, I was Cleopatra, because everyone was Cleopatra, right? Everyone that believes in reincarnation thinks that I was Cleopatra. Cleopatra was a personality with 700 spirits inside, because everyone thinks that I was Cleopatra. Another joke with Chico Xavier. Come a lady full of makeup and said to him, in a voice like this, Chico, in another life, I was Cleopatra. And then Chico says with his love, unbelievable love, he says, let's continue praying, sister. So he didn't say, nah, you're nuts. No, he said, okay, let's continue praying, right? So, okay, Andre Luiz then was a doctor before he disincarnated. He lived in Rio de Janeiro, and he asked not to be named for several reasons. And it's understandable, as I said, we are going to see later on, right, why he asked for this. Nosso Lar is a book that everyone needs to read. You can find it on the internet as a PDF file, as an astral CD. And also, my wife does discover that we can buy books we have iPhones, so in the iTunes store or whatever, you can buy the book, so you can read the real decent translation, right? Because these that we find in for free in the internet in several cases are a little bit of meh. Okay, so Nosso Lar. Nosso Lar, it's like a journal, right? So a reporter telling us the life after life. And this brings all aspects, so how life works, how the work works, family relationships, some kind of organization and law, how it's organized, is a big city, how it's organized, and how there is a continuity, so people go to the material world and then they come back, and how they communicate, how the justice work in this world, and much more, right? It's really yeah, it's really telling the day by day life of someone just arriving there and discovering how things work, right? And I think this is very interesting, because if you just read Kardec, everyone is different, right? This is my opinion. And in the end, also further down the road, we are going to see that Andre Luiz says exactly the same. If you just read Kardec, is in some cases a little bit dry, right? So you don't understand how does it one works with the other. So how what Kardec wrote works in the day-by-day business from the spirit world. So how they do this, right? How they handle this, everything. And Andre Luiz brings this in a clear way, right? And he wrote several books, 13 called, it's called the Life in the Spiritual World series, and is really an afterlife reporter, right? So there are some of these books here that are stories, that are like a novel, like a romance, like the number 12, Sex and Destiny, and the number 13, And Life Goes On, is like a story that he is telling, also with the aspects from the other side. So there are spirits taking a look what people are doing. The mechanism of mediumship from the number 11 here is also quite interesting, and tells how it works when you are a medium, right? How does it work, and the problems and difficulties that are there, that to be faced, and everything else. Some of these books, if not all, are already translated to other languages. I know that there is some in Spanish and some in English. I don't know which one, right? Yeah. So, but the point is, all these books are narrated as detailed description of the spiritual life without metaphors, preparing our own conscience for our own disincarnation. So we understand, reading these books, what we are going to face, how life is, right? It's like, I think everyone here is an immigrant. How we, is someone like, I want to come to Australia. So then you tell them, hey, take a look, how to get a house, and how to get a job, and how you have to, when you're going to cross the street, look to both sides, because you never know, you never remember where the car is coming from, and this kind of stuff, right? So it's exactly the same story. Andre Luiz makes us clear what we are going to see on the other side. And it's very interesting to be read. Some of these books are very difficult, are in a very technical, written way. And they are, yes. And for my surprise, it's easier to read Nosso Lar in English than in Portuguese, for example, my mother tongue, because the language is also quite difficult in Portuguese. And English is translated by a modern guy, so it's modern English, so we understand everything. Some of these books, remember, we are talking about a medical doctor, right? So, and this medical doctor talked about medical aspects, and he is a scientist also. And he looks the words with the scientist, the word, the spiritual world, and the material world from the eyes of a spirit, right? And he looks in such a way that he was a very huge influence for the Brazilian Medical Spiritist Association. There is a Brazilian Medical Spiritist Association. There are several hospitals that are hospitals with this connection with Spiritism and medicine in Brazil. And there is one that's called exactly Andre Luiz, because he gives us lots of interesting information. For example, on the pineal gland, that one that is here on the brain of a person, I suppose everyone. And these studies that he presented that are very difficult to be understand are only confirmed by the science 60 years later. And it's much more than he talked about the pineal gland. Joana de Angelis, that's the mentor from another very important medium from Brazil, Divaldo. Joana said that everything happens in the spiritual world and the material world is just a copy, right? So that they know earlier than we know. So, for example, the entire psychology was developed in the spiritual world and then brought to us. Joana de Angelis has a series on psychology that is also very interesting and very difficult to be read, especially for me that I'm not from the medical area, but is very good. So, and this is also the same story. Andre Luiz shows 60 years before our material science could explain the pineal gland. He explains how it works and etc. Right? That the doctors later on make their study and concluded, oh, this was just discovered some years ago. Yeah, so he was, as I said, a reporter from the afterlife. He is or he was a scientist because he's not writing anymore. So we don't know if he is back to the material world or he's just doing something different. And he is also a guide. Yeah, because besides this life in the spiritual world, he also wrote several books, Tests and Thoughts. So there are books written with several spirits, and he gave us some thoughts that give us clarity, calm, explanation, and bring us the immense love of our Creator. The mice are crazy. Yeah. So, and some examples. The one that talk less, listen better, right? It's a very simple example. There are several more. And the most interesting thing is that always when you search for something like this, you find exactly what is for you, right? And some definitions that I found that quite interesting, that philosophy is love that thinks, religion is love that looks for God, truth is love that becomes eternal. So everything is love. That's also, I think everyone here can agree with this point. And another one that especially, I was just looking for some sentences, right? This one here is especially valid for me, is value time, organize your work, knowing that each day has its obligations. Do not be anxious, serve everyone with detachment, be happy, just and grateful. Never impose your point of view, especially good for everyone, someone that is making a speech here. And remember that the world was not made only for you, right? So this is a kind of guide, the guidance that he brings us, and we can understand, right? We can find strength and calm and love and understanding for the situation we are going through. Because life is difficult, no? Not only my life, I suppose everyone's life is difficult. Okay, so he, as I said, he is or was a reporter, a scientist, a guide and friend, but also he brought us some truth, right? So he brought something for the light of the day, right? So because we also have to remember he was a medical doctor, learning, questioning, having experiences, bringing clearly that we are not from here. And if you read his books, you start understanding this. Also, by coincidence or not, nosso lar, our home, is the spiritual world, right? So the same name as his first book is where we come from, where we live. It's our place. And also he said that our spiritual powers and memories were lost so that we incarnated do not get lost. I think that's also quite interesting because it's also, if we, for example, if we always have been a musician, perhaps in this incarnation, we come to the world without any sense for music so that we develop another ability, right? So, for example, I was always a musician, but have no clue on mathematics. So in this life, I have to learn mathematics because we have to learn everything, right? All aspects of life, all aspects that are there. And we have to live all experiences, being rich, being poor, being a woman, a man, etc. And also reading his books, we can come to this conclusion that everything in life makes sense and follows just one target. That this target is to give us the opportunity to evolve, to be better, to be different than we are yesterday, but different in a way that's better. And especially in a way that we understand what we are doing, right? Because today we are much more reactive than active. If something happens, we just start horning the car, or just start screaming, or just start getting crazy without thinking what we are doing. And also, reading his books is clear, right? This message from Spiritism that we have only one life. And this one life that we have is the spiritual life. It's not, as everyone says, and there are several musics that say we have only one life. That, imagine that we are going to die and that's it. No, we have only one life, and then we're going to die and come back to the spiritual world, and then we're going to reborn again in another body and be another, play another role in this theater, right? Yeah, and I think that's also important to understand that he wrote to instruct us, to educate us, but to educate the immortal spirits that are in us. And also his target was to change the way we think and feel life, evolution and creation. Yeah, you guys are so quiet. I think I'm scaring you to death. No. Yes. What else? Because we are coming fast forward. There is another example, what he said, that I think rounds up what I just said before. And he said that an existence is just an act, like a role play in a theater. A body is just like a clothes that you use one day, and the next day you use a different one. If you're going to paint the door, you use an old cloth. If you're going for a party, you use a different one. If you have to learn about something, you are born as a man with no musical idea. If you need to have some experiences, you are born as a woman in Nigeria or in South Arabia. And if you have to learn something different, you were born in this or that way, short, long, with only one eye, whatever, right? So a century is a day, because the life of the spirit is, as being immortal, is forever, right? So then we just have these incarnations that we think that are long, is just one day. A service, so that's something that you do, is just an experience that you have, right? Is that you get. So if you do something, it's just one experience more that you are living and adding to your portfolio of experiences, so that you can have later on with you. And a triumph is just an acquisition, right? In several cases, we learn more by mistakes than by having success on the story. And a death is just a renewing breath, right? We also have to, especially in these COVID days, that several people, especially from Brazil, are dying. Everyone here knows someone that is passed away. We have to understand this, right? That we are renewing every single day. The humanity is renewing, new people coming in, old people going out. And this is the way that needs to be. This is everything is right, because everything follows the laws of love, the laws of God. And that's the way it is. It is strange in several cases to us, right? And there is a very good Brazilian song that says that the singer asked God, right? So if it's to destroy everything, why you made it in the first place, right? So why you have done this everything if it's to destroy everything, right? Why do we need to born and to grow and to learn and one day to go away? But that's the point. It's an experience. It's a way to learn, a way to evolve. And this Andre Luiz brings clearly to us. And he brings something else that I think is the most important thing, and it's the message, because for some people, I will never read Andre Luiz. I don't like these books. I don't like to read. I don't know. Everyone is different. Thanks God. Yeah, but the most important thing that we can learn with him is that he shows us that's possible to change ourselves. And he wrote about himself, and now it's clear to everyone why he is so keen to keep his anonymity, so nobody knows who he really was, because he said about himself that he was just a mediocre, right? He was a mean person, in an average person, meaning average. An average person, right? So he wrote about himself that he was born of perhaps excessively generous parents. He's talking about me, I suppose. And he graduated from university without much effort, because the family had money to pay the university, and he was smart enough not to need to study a lot, right? And so he shared the same amount of drinks and dancing as everyone in his age and time. And he was spared from all financial worries because he got very fast. I think his father has good connections. He got very fast a good job, a good position, and got enough to live. So he was a complete average person. And I like in English because they say mean as an average, but also has the other meaning, right? That is just bad. Because as it is in the Old Testament, if you're just a mean, right, I vomit you. You need to be hot or you need to be cold. And in another book I read, a guy says that is for him, it was better to have a really bad spirit that he was talking to than some people like doing nothing. So the lukewarms. So they being the average person, because they're really mean and bad people, right? They are doing something. And then when they are convinced that they have to do the good, they start doing, they start making, they start moving, right? And the average guy that's always there laying on a, how's the name of this in English again? Hammock, right? Someone that's hanging on a hammock every day says, yeah, tomorrow I'll do anything. Calm down, right? I'm doing no bad, so is everything fine? No, that's not the message. The message is we need to do good because not doing good, we are doing bad already, right? So that's why there is also in the Old Testament, even so old it is, so more than 4,000 years, do something. Be hot or be cold. Don't be just average, right? Okay. So, and yes, if you read his books, and if you read Nosso Lar, you're going to understand this, right? That he could improve himself in a way that we say, wow, right? Because as I said, he's at least the second more important spirit that bring us lots of information. And I bring you an example, right, from his changing attitudes. Changing attitudes is also, I use this a little bit of a play with words, because there is a book by another spirit called Hamed that's called Changing Attitudes. And this book is like a real size baseball bat on our head, because it says, hey, start doing something with you and start thinking what you're doing. So in the beginning of Nosso Lar, right, he is still on the umbral. How do you say umbral in English? You are mute, nobody knows.
Umbral.
Umbral.
Umbral, but you could see lower density as well, maybe you could see.
Yeah, so he is not exactly in the happy areas of the spiritual world. He is in where people is still suffering because they're not understanding what they are. And he is angry, right? He's suffering there. That's it. I wrote that umbral and couldn't read my own reading. Sorry. So he's feeling alone and helpless, and he stayed there for 8 years in suffering and tears and hunger and dirt, and it was until he lost his pride and starts praying with all his forces. And in the almost in the same moment, he could finally see Clarence that is going to help him. And later on, someone explained to him, Clarence was always seeing you. You it was the one that couldn't not find him because you couldn't see him. Because he was in this suffering and this, I am a victim and I should be in a better place guy, right? But in the moment that he lost his pride and he starts praying for help because he needs help, then he could find Clarence that was just waiting for him to recognize his mistakes and the way he was going, right? And this is the point that he changed his life from living in the dark to start going in the light in a way that is like you are sleeping and starts waking up, starts understanding how things are, how the world is, and what's important, what's not. This is the moment that makes click. And I never try to say that perhaps this incarnation is the one that we are incarnated, we are in the material world, knowing and studying about the spiritual world, right? Because being a spirit in the spiritual world is quite easy to be a spiritist, right? But being in the material world, as Madonna used to say, I am a material girl living in a material world, it's very difficult to start thinking on this. And this is perhaps the incarnation that we are going to give this kick in our lives, right? And I hope that everyone here, when we go to the other side, that we are in a situation that we understand, if not immediately, after some thinking where I am and what's going on, right? Why so dark? That we understand where we are and we start asking for help immediately. And understanding where we are and saying words of gratitude. There is another story. I don't know if it was one of the beginners of Spiritism. I think it was Camille Flammarion, but please do not quote me. I'm not 100% sure. But the situation is following. This person, let's say that it was Camille Flammarion, right? He passed away. So they make the funeral and the body was there, and one medium incorporates the spirit that the body was there to be laid down on the soil, right? And starts talking to his friends. And the first thing he starts saying is, thank you for the body, that the body was the instrument for development of his own spirit. And it's a very beautiful and powerful moment that also serves to us, right? Because if you see these stories that comes from the other side, we can apply it on our lives and understand what we have to do and what we have to leave to go this one step forward, that as our friends from the Muslim religion says, if you go one step in the direction of God, God comes 10 steps running in your direction, right? Because it's easy to understand, because we are understanding, we are waking up, we are observing how work is done and the rules that are there to be followed in a way that we receive the best that we can get. All right? Yes. Remember, right? This you can ask, you can say, no, that's not like this. Or you can say, oh, yes, this is a two-way road. So, yes, coming to the end of the story, Andre Luiz is a model to us, right? Because we can be sure that we also can go this one step forward that will bring us close to the divinity. And also we can be sure that the high spirits are seeing us. We have the eyes covered. And Andre Luiz brings this message clear in a very pedagogic way, so in a very message that we can understand very clearly. We are able and capable of changing our lives and improving ourselves. When I start this slide here, I said, I need to remember to say something. I just forgot what I wanted to say. So let's see if it comes back. Sorry, I forgot.
That's all right.
That's all right, yes. So, yes, this is what I prepared. And I think this last 2-3 slides are the most important ones. Is how it can, yes, it can be difficult, but yes, it's very possible to us to change our lives in a way that we make better persons out of ourselves, and that we go one step forward, right, in the right direction. That we can do this, and we are more than capable to do this. Yeah.
Thank you, Marcelo.
Marcelo, just would like to add something that, Andre Luiz gave us his own example, life example, and he's told us his experience in life and post-material life, physical life, and also others through his reporting, other spirits experience. Life, material life, physical life, and post life. So it's not one recipe, and it's not his example that it's gonna happen. I think we should point that out, because he gave us a good example of someone that was ignorant to post physical life life, now for about eternal life and multiplicity of lives. And so that's what happened to him, was a consequence of this, no? For this ignorance and maybe some abuses that he committed when he was in life. So when you say we need to understand when we are in the other light, why we are in the dark, well, we might not, yeah. And one thing that we can be more confident that we might not, because we are here now, talk about this. So we are having a different understanding, we're having an expanded understanding of what post physical life means, you know. So this is the most important thing. Is this even more important than what we did or didn't do, right? We know that in spiritism we have this concept of sometimes a fatalism, you know, the karma that no one can escape. Luckily and I'm actually happily that it's changing. Even in the spiritism community, it's changing, and we are now understand that that's not true. So I think my point here is just that we are here, we are working our spiritual growth and our expansion of consciousness and our, if I am bold, I would say our destruction of the concept of duality with God. And all those things contribute for us to having perhaps a different experience and a more pleasing and happier experience than Andre Luiz experience. And thanks to him that came also with those you know, books and materials that help us.
Yeah. Jackson, you want to say something?
No, I just endorse what you said. I think Andre Luiz show us more in a more concrete way what is the other side, what aspects we can find there, and then show us as well the values that Kardec has put on the Book of Spirits and as well on those other books, applied in experience lived by another spirit. So he gave his testimony of the other side in a very positive way.
And I think I said that some time ago as well, like as we as humanity grow spiritually, our experiences post-life will be changing as statistically speaking, you know. So we are having more happier experience post-life because we are all more prepared. So when we just look at the literature from Kardec's time or from Kardec's time in experiences and talks with the spirits at that time, the experiences that at that time were reflecting the life and the lifestyle of that time, right? Now we have grown and we have a different lifestyle and we have a different values nowadays. Everything is contributing for better experiences. So it's always good. It's good to read Andre Luiz books. They're even more important. Very important, I think, for us to also research on even more contemporary stories or reports.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
What's happening now with people? Huh?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I'm just saying, you know, like that I believe and I want to believe that we are all damned to a better experience.
No, we're not. Because
Andre Luiz had.
This is something that is so clear, let's say, so obvious for me that I forgot to mention, right? And this thing is that everyone has its own experience, and it can be completely different in all aspects. The reincarnation, the life itself, the disincarnation, so the process of death, the process of coming on the other side. Every single person has a different story and a different background. And as you said, it's going to be better and better because we are studying, but this group here is studying, right? But several people, my neighbors, I don't know what they are doing. So it means this, everyone has one single experience and everyone is going to go this way. And it's good to be prepared, right? Reading stories that shows how it is so that we can go to the other side, knowing and understanding how things are, so that we at least have an idea and we say, okay, Andre Luiz go through something that's perhaps is the same that I'm going through, but similar is not exactly the same because I'm not a medical doctor. So what should I do, right? And I think that's quite the way it is, right? Everyone is different. And now I remember what I want to tell you guys. So let me finish here. Yes, okay. So the story I wanted to tell you is this slide that I told you that the upper floor is looking at us. We cannot see the upper floor because we are just looking down, right? There is a very nice story in another book that another spirit is telling her experience. So it's a girl telling her experience on the afterlife. And he met someone on the afterlife, so a spirit that is in every single moment of free time is looking, really staring to a picture, any picture of Jesus. And then she goes there, quite curious, and asks, why are you doing this, right? Looking to these pictures of Jesus. And then he said, yeah, because I was an obsessor. I was, together with some friends, we found the one that made us suffer in one life. And he was incarnated and our group was not, and we possess this person and we take care of this person, don't let him walk and then let him talk and then suddenly we couldn't move. It was a situation that it was there. We couldn't move, we couldn't talk, we're just there around. And we listened to some incarnated people saying, oh, this is Jesus. Because this spirit was talking about his experience as an obsessor during the Jesus time. And he was there making bad things, right? And then he said, Jesus looked at him in the eyes and it changed the way he starts perceiving life. And he says, I want to be a better person. Because the amount of love that Jesus put in his eye contact was so big and so great and so nice that was enough to this spirit to want to change his life. And I am sure that Jesus is looking at us. It's just a point of looking back.
How much would we like to have a look like that, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I think I want to be looked at in this way.
It's something similar that happened with Saulo.
Where?
It's something similar that happened with Saulo, with Paulo.
Saulo, yes, yeah, it's something similar, yeah. Yeah, it was much. Later on, I will find the text. Sorry, it's in Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
I can send to you guys so you can share later on. Mm-hmm. It's from this spirit called Patricia, from this book, the Violetas na Janela, so the small flowers on the window, but it's not on this book, it's another book. Yeah. Okay. You are looking at the watch, Dai. It's time to finish, or we go further down the road?
No, if anyone have any other thing that would like to comment, but otherwise, yeah, you're on time. It's all good.
So you are the masters.
So yeah, if you anyone would like to add anything else, otherwise we're just gonna ask Marcelo to do a final prayer box. Anyone would like to add anything else? No? Today we're so free. I think people are a bit lazy, even if it's from home, to show
Take a
up.
look. Jackson's laying down.
Yeah, this one is just ready for bed.
All right, then let's, if nobody else has anything to say today, let's make a prayer asking the high spirits to take good care of us and all the names we put in our piece of paper and we put in our virtual prayer box, saying something like this. God help us to help more our neighbor. Let us awake to the truth of light so that it may free us from many prejudices that blind us and bind us as slaves of human laws. Jesus, allow us to be educated to educate, to be free to liberate, to be humble to understand, to be joyful to rejoice, to be good to encourage kindness, to be light to illuminate the hearts of all. Please, Lord, let peace help us at work, work help us in balance. May balance help us in health, may help us to understand the love of your heart. Jesus, bless all those creatures who came in search of bread that came down from heaven, the spiritual bread. And may your mother be the mother of us all today, now, and in eternity. Jesus, please bless the birds in their trajectories. Bless the animals, the trees that hear us. Also, in the silence that make us understand the secret of the deepest life that sometimes escape our reasoning and escapes the greatest of earth sciences. Bless the stones and the earth itself on which we firm our feet as witnesses. The air we breathe, the water that guarantees us the very life of our body. And myself as your last servant, thank you from the heart for the opportunities that were given to me in all the incarnations I had, and all the opportunities I had to talk your teachings. And please give me, for that I'm sure that you know exactly what I need, and only give me this. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for your attention. And I hope that everyone is fine to be back again next week.
Thank you, Marcelo. Thank you
Thank
all
you,
for
Marcelo.
coming.
Thank you.
Just a
Thank
reminder.
you.
Ciao, ciao, Marcelo. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Marcelo. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, the Brisbane Spirit Center is going to have a speech by Maher.
Oh, my.
Oh,
Yeah, who doesn't know him, Maher is a guy that was born in Palestine, so he's Muslim and spiritualist also. So it's quite interesting the way he thinks and thoughts. And I recommend you guys, I want to see everyone there because it may be quite interesting for sure. It's going to be.
what's the time again, Marcelo?
It's we start at 7, but the speech is from 7:30 to 8. Yeah, but we start earlier because we just follow exactly, we are just online, but we follow exactly the same routine as in our, as we used to do when we are, not online, on live, I don't know, presential. Yeah, so, okay. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope that that you are happy with what I said. And I hope that you are willing to read some Andre Luiz books.
Yeah. If for those that speak Portuguese, most of them they are on YouTube, so you can have like a novel to listen.
Yeah.
It's good for those
Audiobook.
that work or drive. So yeah, it's a good experience. Most of them we just listen while work, so it was really good. So yeah, so thank you. Next week, 7 here, and for those that wish to know the link for Zoom for tomorrow's Brisbane, just ask Marcel on our WhatsApp group. So just go to Brisbane Spirit Center on Facebook. They have that on their Facebook page as well. All right. So next week we are only online again, and hopefully in 2 weeks' time we are back on our presential meetings. All right. Thank you
Okay.
guys. Have a good night.
Ciao.
Gracias, chao.
Bye. Ciao.
Tchau, tchau.